Hello, everybody. Welcome to another great episode of the show. We're using a slightly different setup than we usually use, so I hope everything sounds good to you. I hope it sounds clean. I hope it sounds clear. We'll listen to the whole audio afterwards to make sure. I don't know if I'm going to need an extra microphone or not. We're using a different mic, an entirely different setup than what we've used to use before. And I know that sounded really awkward. I've had a heck of a time over the last few minutes to get this to work right. And that's kind of the theme of the episode tonight, to be perfectly honest. We're talking about upgrades and updates and other things to start with you. I'm gonna walk away from the PC a little bit to see if I can refill my drink, and hopefully I'm not going to lose connectivity, as they say. Because I spilled almost an entire drink on the couch. I'm going to listen to this afterwards, and if the sound quality is not as good as it should be, we're going to try something different for next week. But in the meantime, you're just going to have to bear with me. So, here we are. Another great episode. Maybe. It might be a great episode. It might not be. It might be kind of a poor episode of Uncanny Media, the show. Because we've changed some things. Let me explain it to you. Let me explain it to you what we have done differently. I have upgraded my computing for some things. I still have my laptop, my old trusty Windows 7 laptop that I use for recording music and all that other good stuff, mixing and mastering and all that. But it got to the point where the microphone, my old Samson, it's a Samson mic. It's not a Samsung, it's a Samson that I bought at Best Buy many, many years ago. It's gotten to the point where it's almost impossible to record something with it without it just having this high-pitched noise in the background or without a bunch of air just rushing through constantly through the entire recording. And I've had that microphone for a number of years. It has been a very long time. And to be honest, it was probably due to be replaced a few years ago. To be honest. But I kept with it, and I kept going with it, and I kept adjusting it and trying to make it work. And it would not connect correctly with the new PC. I got it's a mini PC. It's not like a full-size desktop. It's smaller than a lunchbox, to be honest. It's a very small unit. It's a incredibly small computing device that I'm using for my Twitch streaming now. And now I'm also running pretty much everything through it. I'm running StreamYard through it. I'm running Spreaker through it. I'm trying to run everything through it other than my recording, which my recording is still done through the old Toshiba laptop because that has the recording software. Okay. But so I've got this mini PC. It has its own mic. It has no, never mind. It doesn't have its own mic. It has its own keyboard, its own mouse, its own Ethernet, and my old Samsung mic just was not cutting the mustard. So for right now, I am using my headset, my wireless headset. It's not Turtle Beach, is it? It might be Turtle Beach. I don't remember for sure. I'm tired. It's been a long day. I'm going to explain that in a minute. The headset is like a pro gaming headset, whatever, and it's got a little wireless dongle, as they say. It's crazy. The dongle is a serious word these days. But it has a wireless dongle that I have dongle connected to the mini PC. So I'm using both the headset and the microphone for everything. I'm using the headset and the microphone wireless for my Twitch streaming and now my podcasting and my StreamYard stuff. And I'm hopefully everything is clear, everything is clean, and everything works. If it's not, then this whole episode will be for nothing. But I'm going to hope for the best and assume that it's actually going to be decent. I don't know though. I have no idea. I have no idea. So I've got the mini PC, I've got the headset, I've got all this stuff going on. Funny story, I've only been using this for about a week, and within that time, one of the kittens chewed through the mouse cable for the mouse that I had to use for it, rendering the mouse useless, and like completely severed the cord from where it went into the USB plug to the mouse. Like it was completely severed. I could have tried to splice it, but it wouldn't have worked ever the same way as it had been the original way. So the mouse wasn't even a week old, and had to throw it in the trash and replace it. And that irritated me. That irritated me to no end. Because these kittens, they like to chew on stuff. They love to chew on stuff. They're chewers. That cat's brother went to have his neutering surgery this morning. Let me just adjust some things over here. Which is why I'm so tired, because he had to go in between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. in the morning, and I'm not up that early. I am not awake that early in the day, to be honest. It's before my time. And I sound a little rough tonight, not because I'm tired also, but because the weather. Let's get to the weather report, because we always have to get to the weather report. The weather has been crazy here in Ohio. It was cold, then it was warm, then it was cold, then it was warm, then it was cold, then it was warm, and then it was rainy and rainy and rainy and rainy, then dry, 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 dry. And so the allergens, the pollen from the plants and everything going on outside has increased by a huge amount. And now there's also dust because our road is not properly paved because the city is a goofball. We'll get to that. But they haven't repaved our streets in quite a long time, so there's a lot of dirt, a lot of dust thrown into the air. So, long story short, I have a lot of that going on. I have a lot of dirt and dust and things going on in my throat. And so I have some sinus drainage again. I'm not getting sick. I'll say that. I am not getting sick like that last time where I was sick for like 6 months. I'm not doing that. But I am, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, and my throat is iffy, so I keep having to swallow because there's a bunch of goop in there. So this is going to be a rough episode. It's going to be a rough episode, I'll tell you. I'll tell you that now. A rough episode. But we have upgraded. We have updated. We have done things to increase our efficiency and to increase our quality. And while I'm not entirely sure that all of it has been effective yet, we have done so anyway. We have done so anyway. But both of the kittens have now been, they've both been neutered, which is good. And there are more kittens in the backyard. I'm not bringing them into the house because we cannot fit any more cats in the house. We're at our limit. But within the last couple of weeks, a mother cat showed up in the backyard with three tiny little kittens. They're still half nursing, but they're also starting to eat solid food because I've started to put out solid food for the mother, and the little kittens have started to eat it. But we now have kittens in the backyard, three of them. I'm going to try to get in touch with some people to try to make sure that they're adopted and they're taken care of. I don't want to just leave them out there to fend for themselves with their mama. And I can't bring them into the house. We've got enough cats already. We can't take four more cats. We just can't. It's not going to work. So I've been going out and trying to make sure that they know that I'm friendly, trying to acclimate them to human presence. That way, when it comes time to try to gather them up, it won't be a hassle to try to collect them so that we can get them to a new home where they can be happy. And we've had some middling success. A little bit here and there, a little bit, I've been able to pet one of them and another one sniffed my fingers, and then the third one has been like, heck no, I don't trust you. I'm not having anything to do with you. So, we've got that going on. New kittens in the backyard. Can't keep them. If you want a kitten and you will promise to take care of it and not feed it to a snake or do something stupid and ridiculously awful to it, then get in touch with me. We'll see if we can arrange something. I'm going to have a drink. Earlier, I just finished my second Twitch stream of the night. I say second because I did another one previously that was not game related. My second Twitch stream of the night was game related. I played some games, Had some frustrations. No big deal. My first stream of the night was actually my listening party for the new Spider in the Hall album. If you did not show up, you missed it, and it sucks to be you, because it was awesome. If you did show up, I hope you enjoyed yourselves. I played the entire album Kingmaker from start to finish. As of this recording, it's not released yet. It will be released on Friday. So 2 days from now, you will be able to experience the album if you have not done so already. It'll be on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Deezer, Tidal, Pandora, everywhere. Bandcamp, it'll be available everywhere on Friday. But you could have gotten a chance to listen to it ahead of time if you listened to it at the listening party that I did earlier tonight on Twitch, where I played the entire thing from start to finish for you. So that's coming up. That's a big deal. I've been working on that album. I put a lot of work into this album. It's not the most work I've ever done on an album, but it was a bit of a learning thing to try to figure out certain things, to try to advance my knowledge of mixing and mastering and engineering work. And I think I've learned a few things that I didn't know before. And I think this album is going to be all the better for it. So, Friday, June 5th, 2026, Spider in the Hall releases the new album, Kingmaker. And I encourage you to pick up a copy or to listen as many times as possible on a streaming service. I would definitely listen more than once. There's more to it than just one pass through. You know what I mean? So there's been a lot going on. I've had the upgrades, I've had the new setup, I've had the cat, I've had the kittens in the backyard, and I've had the album release. A lot of things all at once. A lot of things all at once. And that's kind of how things go for me. If you've listened to this podcast before, you know that things just kind of, everything happens at once. It's never just one thing that we're talking about. It's always a multitude of stuff. Now, speaking of things to talk about that I have not actually experienced yet, I might talk about them next week. In pro wrestling news, the WWE went to Italy and put on a show, and they also had a pretty successful show in Mexico for their AAA promotion. And I have not watched either one of those yet. I've heard some spoilers about what went down in a couple places, but I've not actually experienced any of it yet. If you've seen it, let me know what you thought about it. Did you think it was a good event? I feel like a lot of times these out of country events that they do for WWE tend to be kind of fluff stuff just to make the overseas fans happy, which is fair. So it's not particularly necessary for the entire storyline of what's going on with various characters, but I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they've changed their tune a little bit, and maybe things have been a little bit improved. I'll watch it probably sometime this week. The wife has been under the weather because of the weather. It's either just the allergies have really gotten to her, or something else in the air has really hit her really hard. So she's been under some sinus issues the last several days. So she hasn't been aware. I mean, she's done her work and then she's come home and she's lucid and stuff. It's not like she's whatever. But she hasn't been focused enough that she wants to get involved in that kind of stuff. So we haven't done any wrestling watch alongs. We haven't done anything like that. So if she's feeling better sometime in the course of this week, maybe I'll get to it and we'll be able to review it for next week. We'll see what happens. Ugh, I'm tired, I'll tell you. I'm yawning constantly. Another thing that has happened that I want to remark about, and I don't want to put somebody's business out there that, to be fair, I did not know them super well. I knew them through some gaming, so I don't have a lot of access to their personal information, but I also don't want to put them out there in case anybody recognizes the screen name. But when I've been playing games, a game called Outriders, which has been out for a few years now, it's a pretty solid game. It doesn't have a lot of excess things to do at the end of the day, but it's a pretty solid game, and I'm working pretty hard at it still to do extra leveling and whatnot. I made a friend in the social part of this game, and I knew him first as the Leaper Whisperer, and then as the TIC Whisperer, and then he had another name after that, and I don't remember what it was, and now he had a further name after that. But I call him the Whisperer. The Whisperer. Okay? The most I know about this guy is that he lives in Maryland. I believe he lives in Baltimore, Maryland, based on his area code for his phone, because we set up a text messaging system so that we could coordinate to play Outriders. Okay? Well, he's had some health issues, and it looks like he might not actually pull through with his health issues, which is really a damn shame. Um, I had a lot of fun playing games with this dude. I don't know him super well, but I know a little bit. I know enough to consider him that he was a friend of mine, and it looks like he's coming towards the end of his time on this planet, which is pretty sad. So, for anybody out there who might know the Whisperer, I have raised a glass in his honor, and I hope that he pulls through. I hope he pulls through. Again, I'm not going to put the details of what he's going through out there on the internet because that's not anybody's business. He told me because he had to explain why he wasn't going to be around to play anymore, and I understood that, you know, but I hope he pulls through and he's still got a few years left in him. If not, condolences definitely to his family. And it's tough. You remember I talked about my friend Kara Sorovic, who lost her battle with cancer. And I had known her for a very long time, and I really, I, I cared about her a lot. And while this isn't exactly the same length of time, it isn't the same situation, it's still one of those times where it's like, you hang out with somebody, you talk to somebody, you get to know somebody, and then all of a sudden they're pulled. They're pulled out of your life. And that kind of thing can happen. And you have to be prepared for it. It sucks. It 100% sucks. I'm not happy about it. I'm certainly not. But you have to be prepared that anybody that enters your life could potentially leave your life for various reasons. So, on that morbid note, on that morbid little note over there, what else do we have to talk about? What else do we have to talk about? We don't have a lot. I'll say that. Most of the important stuff, the upgrades, the kittens, the whisperer, I've already covered. Let's move on a little bit to the continuing saga of the local wildlife. Remember, the local wildlife is my nickname for people who, in my local town, cause trouble because they feel like they've been wronged and so they're going to cause trouble with the city in retaliation. Now, I mentioned that the leader of a certain Facebook page that had issues with the local city council. He was arrested and then released, but he was charged with trespassing because he's not from here. He doesn't seem to understand this. He's from a nearby town. He used to live in this city, but he doesn't anymore, and he lives in a nearby town. It is part of the county, but it isn't part of the city limits. But he comes into the city whenever we have a council meeting or anything like that to voice his opinion, which is not necessary because he doesn't live here, right? And he doesn't seem to understand. That's the problem. But he got arrested for trespassing because they said you can't be here. And he's fighting this in court. He's not the initial decision about whether he was going to be judged against was up to a judge, but he apparently petitioned the court to be like, no, I want a jury trial. I want the jury to decide. And he then said that the city wanted the jury involved, which they didn't, so that was a lie on his part. But he's presenting that as if like, oh yeah, they want to push it to trial because they want to make a big deal out of it. No, he asked his lawyer that was assigned to him because he didn't put any money forth towards it. He claimed indigence, which means he claimed he didn't have enough money to pay for a lawyer, so the court provided him with a lawyer. Okay. Because the city is the people against him, then they couldn't use a public defender, so they hired an outside lawyer, which costs money. So the city is paying this outside lawyer who's in the city, but he's not, part of the city system. They're paying him to represent this person that they're upset with. And he's still making a big deal like, oh, like he's the victim here. They're going out of their way to provide him with a lawyer and with all the things he needs to defend his case. And he's still claiming that he's the victim here. Anyway, he had a meeting, a pre-trial hearing at the courthouse. And he had a bunch of people show up outside, and he had a friend of his record all of the everything inside To which his lawyer said, you can't record in here because there's client attorney privilege. It's not just me, it's just other people having discussions with their counsel in here. You can't have them record things. Which they, of course, threw a fit about because then they said, oh, yeah, it's our First Amendment rights to record, whatever. But he also had in his back pocket a digital audio recorder recording all of his conversations with his lawyer. Which, on one hand, yes, is fair because you can't always trust the lawyers, especially if they're assigned to you. So you want to have a record in case things are not kosher, so to speak. But because Ohio is a one party recording state, which means as long as one person knows that the recording has happened, that that's good enough. You don't have to let the other person know that you're recording them. He figured, oh, I'm just going to wear this recorder and record everything my lawyer says. So his lawyer didn't know that he was being recorded, which is partially a problem because this guy has a tendency to take these recordings that he makes in various places, not just this particular occasion, but he's done this before. He takes these recordings and then he plays them on his Facebook page for people to critique. And that's breaking attorney-client privilege. And it's kind of a conflict of interest. And he doesn't seem to understand this. So I'm waiting to see how that's going to pan out between his lawyer and him and the court and everything. They don't have, I guess the court, the next pretrial date is not until August. I think they're hoping that he's going to give up, that he's going to just be like, I'm tired of waiting. I'll settle out of court. I think that's what they're hoping. Because as of now, it just turned June. We're on June 2nd. And August is 2 months away. It's a long time to wait for a trial. Right? I don't know. It all seems a bit messed up to me, but that's what these people do. These people go in and they raise a fuss and they get upset and then they get themselves into these situations and then they claim victimhood as if they're the ones being bullied and pushed around. Oh, well, he and his buddy who recorded all of this, after the court date was over, they took chalk and they wrote a bunch of derogatory messages on the sidewalk outside of the courthouse. Now, yes, this chalk it's easily gotten rid of, but the fact remains it's still kind of like vandalism, right? It's still, there's no reason to antagonize unless you're just being petty, which this guy's petty. He's super petty, and that's part of the problem. So they went around and they made a bunch of not art with their chalk. And then the city, once he left the area, the city had one of their people go out and wash it all off. And he came back and was like, oh, they washed all our stuff. I'm so upset. What do you expect? It was basically low-level vandalism. And you were talking garbage about the city and about the people. And even if it was true, I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't have problems with the way that the city here is being run, because I do. And I've commented on it more than once in official channels, not just on the podcast here, but I've talked about it in emails and various things with city members. But you don't just go down and make a bunch of childish remarks in chalk all around the building. You don't do that. That's just dumb. There's no reason for it. You're just looking for a reason for them to get irritated with you so you can say, oh, yeah, look, they're abusing me. All I did was exercise my First Amendment rights and they're abusing me. Yeah, but you were antagonistic and you were kind of a piece of shit. Right? if you're being a piece of shit, then how do you get to claim that they're violating your rights after you're being a piece of shit? I mean, make it make sense. Make it make sense. But what else do we have going on? I'll admit, I am very tired, so I don't have a lot of prepared. I did have some notes for how this episode was going to go, and then because I'm just tired, I haven't stuck to the notes. I've kind of deviated from the notes. I've got sinus stuff happening. I've got the cats being cats. There's kittens in the backyard. Destiny. Let's talk more about Destiny. Not a person, but the game. Let's talk more about Destiny 2. I don't know if I talked about it in the last episode. I'm pretty sure I did, but let's talk about it some more. Destiny 2, as mentioned previously, is no longer going to be getting any content updates, or it's not going to be supported as a live service game. It's going to be relegated to just um, hot fixes and things that are, if something breaks in the code, then they'll make that a priority. But they're not going to add any new content to the game itself. And this is a very similar situation to what happened with the first Destiny. There's Destiny 1 and there's Destiny 2. Destiny 1 had a roller coaster ride of issues. It started out okay, then it went downhill, then it got better, then it went downhill again, then it got better. And it was the best it's ever been when they turned off the updates for it. And they turned off the updates because they said, you know what, we're going to move on. We're going to move on to Destiny 2, a better game than the first, using modern technology and modern consoles and etc. etc. And they left the first one in the dirt, which irritated me quite a bit because they could have improved it still a little bit more, and they didn't. They chose not to. And so at the time, I refused to play the second game. And to this day, I have never played Destiny 2. Fast forward, and they've made the announcement that Destiny 2 is going to end its support. It's no longer getting any new content. It's going to be relegated the same way as the first game was. You're still going to be able to play it. They're going to keep the servers online so you can continue to play it. But they're not going to add anything new to it. They're not going to fix anything else that's broken. It is what it is. But instead of what happened with the first game, where they had a second one in tow, they do not have a third game ready to go. They apparently are facing layoffs, financial difficulties, and a lot of other things. And I don't believe that Bungie, which is the people who created Halo and who now created the Destiny franchise, I don't think Bungie as a game company will survive another year. They have made a plethora, that's a good word for you, look it up, a plethora of poor business decisions. During the first Destiny game, they constantly listened to a vocal minority rather than what most people wanted. And they kept altering various game mechanics in favor of this vocal minority. And that vocal minority is who migrated to Destiny 2, and Bungie continued to listen to them, even as they shed employees, even if the team between Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 was not the same by that point. But they continued to listen to the vocal minority, and it harmed them. It was a problem. It was a serious issue. And now they've gone on the record there. They've got another game called Marathon, which is a reimagining of one of their earliest games. One of their earliest games as a game studio was called Marathon Durandal, and it was a single player solo experience, a shooter, kind of like System Shock, kind of like old Doom, that kind of thing. Well, they brought the game back as a multiplayer shooter, cooperative shooter, and they have now pivoted from Destiny as a franchise to work on Marathon. And Marathon has not been as good by all accounts. It has not been as popular. And now you have people in the Destiny community who are like, oh, we're just going to boycott Marathon. We're going to make sure we tell everybody else that it's a horrible game, blah, blah, blah. So they're actively looking to sabotage. I don't know why I said it like that. They're actively looking to sabotage the numbers for Marathon to show that, you know what, it's such a terrible game. Destiny was so much better. As if the game studios are going to pay attention to that. The game studios are going to look at low numbers and be like, oh, well, this game isn't performing. So let's cut this. Let's cut this. Let's cut this. It's never, let's add to this other thing that we've got going on because obviously that's what people want to do. No, they don't do that. They just cut where the immediate cuts are necessary. And there's a petition going to get a Destiny 3 made because apparently there's rumors that they were going to work on it, but they changed their mind, and now people think that they're going to be able to convince these $1 million companies to do what they want with a few signatures. It's not going to happen. It's fairly ridiculous on the face of it, but they're trying it anyway. And there's a bunch of hashtags for it for Destiny 3 and all this other stuff. And according to various news articles, the projected cost of a Destiny 3 would be close to $500 million, which does not seem accurate to me. I think that I think you can make a game like this for far less. But that's what they claim, and that's what the legal teams are claiming. So right now that's legally in terms how all that's supposed to go, despite how I feel about it. But they say over $500 million would be required to develop the next Destiny game if they were to feel like it and if they were to do so. And they've already laid off several people from the team. They're a shell of themselves. They are a shell of themselves. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with that. I doubt there's going to be another Destiny game. I definitely doubt that. I feel like the company is going to fold within the next year or two. At most 2 years. I don't think it's going to survive past where it's at right now because of a just a lingering series of decades of poor business decisions on the part of leadership at Bungie. They don't listen to the right players. They don't listen to their employees. They just make these decisions and then decisions go bad and that's it. And that's how it goes. Now, I'll admit, I'm super tired. I'm out of it. I'm just trying to wind down until it's time for me to go to bed. So I'm probably going to cut this short. I'm going to cut this episode short, unfortunately. I know you folks really want to talk to me more and hear more of what I have to say, which I appreciate. I definitely appreciate it. But I don't have much more in me right now. I'm low on fuel. I'm low on motivation. So I'm going to cut this short. I don't have the ending theme for the show downloaded. I didn't realize it until I was most of the way through this episode. I had the opening theme, but I didn't have the ending theme. And I have to get that loaded up. And I'm not going to do that this week. So this week it's just going to kind of end abruptly, unfortunately, and I feel bad. But we'll get it sorted for next week, and everything would be golden, everything would be cool. And if I discover that the sound quality from this headset has not been great, I will endeavor, good word choice, I will endeavor to make sure I have a better quality microphone in the near future as these things happen. So that's it. Thank you for listening. I know it was kind of up in the air and it's not quite an entire episode, but we are going to do things back to the full quality that we're known for next week. We're just having a bit of a hiccup. And until then, thank you. Please imagine the end theme playing as I lead you out here. And have a good night. I'll see you next week.